Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kentucky Small Business Development Center's weekly webinar. We are glad you're here. And as we allow attendees a few moments to join our event, we'd like to share some info about the Kentucky Small Business Development Center. We are the only statewide nationally accredited program that provides entrepreneurial and business development services. The Kentucky SBDC plays a vital role in the Commonwealth's economic development by assisting entrepreneurs at every stage of their business life cycle. For almost 40 years, Kentucky SBDC has assisted emerging and growing businesses by providing the professional expertise, tools, and information necessary to make sound business decisions in a complex and ever-changing marketplace. We do this at no cost to our clients, thanks to the U.S. Small Business Administration, who co-sponsors our program, which is then administered by the University of Kentucky, who partners with regional universities, colleges, and local economic development agencies. To learn more about the Kentucky Small Business Development Center, visit kybizhelp.com. You'll see that on the screen. And there you'll find additional resources to help start, fund, and grow your business. And if you'd like to request personal assistance, you can also email us at info@kybizhelp.com or call 1-888-475-7232. Just a little reminder, a recording of today's webinar will be emailed to you later on this afternoon with the slides and everything. And if you look to the right of your screen, you'll find the chat feature. So if you have any questions for our presenter today, you can post them there and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. And if you wouldn't mind, please try out the chat feature right now and say hello to us and tell us where you're from today. I'm Dave Etkin. I'm the director of the Louisville Small Business Development Center here in Louisville. I'm one of 13 centers throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And with me today is my good friend and colleague, Tony Sears, who is the assistant director here. Hello, Tony.
Hi, David. How are you today?
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Same to you.
So we're going to start out our New Year session with a really awesome presenter today because she is one of those been there, done that entrepreneurs that I think we all can really learn from. And she has a ton of background in sales and search engine optimization. She worked in the automotive industry. I'll let you tell you a little bit about yourself, but you have such a cool background. But Jenna Ahern is the CEO and founder of Guardian Owl Digital. And since she launched it just 4 years ago, she has grown this company from zero to a multi-million-dollar digital agency. It's very impressive. So welcome, Jenna. I'm really glad you're here. Can't wait to see what's going to happen today.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank the SBDC in its entirety just for all the work that you do in the Commonwealth, as well as inviting me here. This is such an honor and a privilege. And again, utilize the chat feature because I know SEO sometimes can feel like a buzzword, can feel overwhelming. So if at any point you think that, hey, what is this? It's not a silly question. Please utilize it because Tony is going to be helping navigate that. And we're going to have ample time for Q&A, as well as my contact information will be available because I do want to help you no matter what journey you're on right now in business. And so today, go ahead, David.
Oh, I was just going to say, January, we're early January, and I know everybody, because I did, you sit over the holidays, sit at home, you think, man, I really need to hit it hard here in January and get a great start for January in 2021. And this is exactly what we're going to talk about today, right?
Exactly. And so today we were talking about 7 ways to jumpstart your SEO. And as David mentioned, I've been an entrepreneur and made my way to the Commonwealth from another Commonwealth, Pennsylvania, in 2006. I actually played field hockey at the University of Louisville from 2006 to 2010 and have always been really competitive and had a lot of energy. And from there, got the opportunity to stay in Kentucky. I fell in love with the state. And even though my family continues to remain in the Northeast, I'm hoping that this will be my home for years to come. So I got my first start in marketing from another agency here. And at the time, they were really focused in automotive. And so born and bred right outside of Mannheim, Pennsylvania, I was very familiar with the industry. My mom was a teacher and actually in the summers held a second job running cars through the Mannheim auction. And I always just was fascinated by automotive in the space and dealerships and the different facets of the business. And if you know anything about that industry, it can be a little bit like the wild, wild west at times. And I'll get into a little bit more of that later. But I spent 10 years in that industry. And one of my concerns when I finally reached what I thought was the pinnacle dream job at Cox Automotive, they owned a suite of companies, two that you may be familiar with, Kelley Blue Book and Auto Trader. When I hit that, I really thought, okay, this is it. This is my career. I'm going to be in automotive. And what I found was that there was such a lack of knowledge and education when it came to how search engines worked, how business within digital worked, and combining, my skill set that I built over the 10-year period with my industry knowledge and just my human nature to do good in the world, I decided that there was a better way to do marketing, and especially in the times where we're at now. And so I started Guardian Out Digital actually just as a side hustle. I would consult dealerships and small businesses at the time in the mornings and at night on how they can grow and scale their website, their social media presence, just questions like, how do I log into Facebook? And so this was back in 2013, I actually started. In 2016, I went full time after really burning the candle at both ends. I grew up in a small town, like I said, in Pennsylvania, from a single mom household. And so when I ventured off to Kentucky, I was on my own financially, and literally at that time, there was MapQuest. I don't even think I had a cell phone that could text at the time. And so I've always navigated the waters of, okay, if I want to take these leaps, whether it's in business or in life, I really have to work hard. And that truly was all it was in the beginning, a mix of just hard work and trying to be open to every opportunity that came my way. And I really have taken that from 2016 when I went full time in the business to where we are now. We have a team of 6 here in Louisville, and we have strategic partners all over the country that have helped grow the team, the nest, I call it, in what we are today. And so if you have questions about that entrepreneurial journey, or at any point, if you're kind of just starting out, I've been there and I have bootstrapped this company. I've taken $0 from investors or partners, and actually bought out a partner in 2018 so that I could own 100% of the company. And so I certainly can relate to a lot of what maybe you experience from the blocking and tackling on a daily basis, as well as what we're going to really get into, the SEO and digital marketing sphere of business. And so I want to start off by saying search engine optimization is ever evolving, and a lot of agencies where we are now, they started as a traditional agency, and through the last 5 years have really tried to shift from the traditional agency model to delivering digital services on mediums where there's a big gap of the unknown, right? So you get a lot of misconstrued data, because if you ask one person what SEO is and then ask another, you may get 2 different answers. And so I really challenge you to just drop kind of the buzzwords and the lingo that you might hear, and really just focus on the concepts, because they haven't changed. And one of the biggest things that I see with SEO is people aren't following that law of attraction, right? So if you look at your domain or your website, take guardianoutdigital.com. I call it the nest, but domain is a buzzword. All it is it's our house, our real estate on the internet, okay? So if you have a website, you have this whole blue ocean, right? It's a new world of the internet. You have essentially purchased a little plot of land on the internet. Congratulations. So you either are renting your land, your house, from, let's say, GoDaddy or RevLocal. Sometimes they're a company that can build out microsites where it's hosted on their space, or you actually are, in our case, Guardian Out Digital, we're on WordPress. We own the equity in the plot of land, and every investment that we make into our house or website domain, we are benefiting from. And so think about your website as real estate, your own house. What are some things that you could be doing on the weekends or throughout the week that help keep your house looking good and credible, right? So you may be in the fall picking up leaves. In the winter, you may be having to plow snow. In the summer, you're cutting grass on the inside. You may have, just through the 2020 and the coronavirus, have invested a lot of time and energy upgrading some things in your house that cost you money, but you know that the investment is worth it because when you go to sell it, you're going to get the money back, right? Same principles hold true on the internet, okay? So one thing that is big when it comes to SEO, and you may have heard, is Google Analytics. So if I were to measure, if in my house throughout 2020, if I said I want to measure every visitor that comes into my household, and I almost want a list of names, I want to know when my home is most visited, when people like coming over for cocktails or maybe coffee, you can do that through Google Analytics. Google Analytics is just a script of code that you place on the back end of your website. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free to use, and it allows you to measure how well you are attracting visitors to your house, as well as what's happening once they get there. Now, if you don't have Google Analytics installed, please send a comment. I can certainly help you with that and provide more information. If you already have Google Analytics, this is great because we're going to talk about what's an even better tool and something you really need to focus on in 2021. A lot of agencies don't talk about this, but it is literally your key to SEO, and it is called Google Search Console. So Google Analytics measures your visitors that are coming into your website or house, right? Once they get there, what are they doing? You know, what are they exiting out the back door, out the front door? How long are they staying in your house? Okay. Google Search Console allows you to see all the visitors that actually don't come to your house, but maybe are driving by, or the search queries that people are using that allows your website or house to populate in the search engine results. So if you are investing in a team, or you individually as an entrepreneur are focused on making these improvements to your website, you can use Search Console to see if those improvements are actually increasing the equity of your website. And so to the left, you can see a screenshot from Google Search Console. It shows you total clicks, total impressions, and then the average click-through rate. So what this is showing you is if somebody is Googling your product or service, it shows if your website populated in search results. And then it'll show you which queries your website is populating for. So this allows you to recognize, okay, I'm populating in search results that I don't care about. They're not relevant to the profitability of my company. How can I adjust what I am putting on my website or doing to my home to enable it to show up for more relevant search terms? And then you can actually see the total clicks, okay? So how I'm appearing in search results, attracting that visitor to actually click through and want to learn more. A lot of agencies talk about metadata, page titles, meta descriptions, alt text. It's a lot of, when I first got started, I'm like, what is this? It's like learning a different language, right? It feels like it, but don't be fooled. All those are fancy words for essentially saying how well is your landscaping look to Google, okay? How well, when somebody Googles something that you offer, how do you look on the search engine result page? Are you using an enticing page title, which is that blue hyperlink that somebody usually clicks through to get to your website? Are you giving them a little snippet of information right below, which is the black text that allows somebody to, before they click through, understand what page is going to be populating? And so why Google Search Console is going to be really important in 2021 is if you are behind the 8 ball, which means you're not using it yet, it's going to be critical because voice search is going to change the game, and you're going to be wanting to see how often you're showing up for searches like, okay, Alexa, find the nearest eye doctor. Okay, Alexa, okay, Google, what's it going to cost for X? Okay, Google, is Honda better than Toyota? Like, people are utilizing voice search, and it actually is really scary being on this side to understand how fast the search engine is changing, because that means business owners need to upgrade their house or their website to stay in front of these visitors if they want to continue to be profitable online. So Google Search Console is another free tool that you're going to be able to measure how well your website is showing up, not just for the Google search results page, but for voice search and for video. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So here are a few questions, again, that I like to look at when looking through Google Search Console. So what are the top search queries that are attracting visitors? This is, you can see it's a car dealership. It allows you to see, okay, Mitsubishi store, that delivered 987 impressions and 100 clicks. Look at this, Mitsubishi, Clarksville Mitsubishi, Mitsubishi Louisville KY, the Mitsubishi store. So if you are gaining, if you look at Search Console and you realize, okay, more people are calling or submitting forms when I utilize the Mitsubishi store over Mitsubishi Louisville, you're going to want to change the language on your website to reflect that. That is SEO. It's the law of attraction. So what are the top 10 pages appearing in results? You're able to see this in Search Console, okay? What are those pages, even if they don't click through to your website, okay? And then this helps you alter your actual metadata. So if you are a business owner on the call right now and you are investing in an agency or somebody else to monitor this, you could actually be asking them these questions so that you can start educating yourself. A, are they doing a good job? B, okay, how can we pivot? Or is there something that you can bring to the conversation to help make them better? Or C, okay, my agency is not even talking about this. How can I get more educated and more involved? So this is huge when it comes to how SEO is evolving, because voice search is going to disrupt what content you put on your website. So we talked about Google Analytics, right? It is just a script of data that's free that you're able to find out how visitors are interacting with your website. Again, why is this important? Think about it if you are an entertainer, okay? You like to host people for breakfast, for lunch, it's almost like a little Airbnb. You want to know how often people go to the bathroom, how often people are staying in the living room. Are they taking off their shoes? How often do you need a vacuum? All these things that you want to know about your own domain or house, you want to start understanding in your actual Google Analytics. I know it can be overwhelming, but this is something that you as a business owner coming into the digital age need to start educating yourself on, because data and analytics needs to become a priority. Before you start spending a lot of money in analytics or in agencies and in understanding what's going on in your website, start with Google Analytics and just reading the analytics help that Google offers for free so that you can understand how to track your marketing efforts. You can understand what questions to ask so that you're just not feeling like you're paying something or investing in something that's not working. Again, if you have the ability and you have the funds to hire somebody who is smart and educated on analytics, this is a time to still educate yourself, to continue to set goals for them, to continue to work as a team so that you can provide them with what they need to be successful in actually analyzing the analytics and visitor behavior moving forward. So what do I look at once I'm in analytics? Okay, first, Google allows you to set up to 20 goals. 20 goals is a lot. If you're not an e-commerce website, that may feel a little overwhelming to you, but a few that you should be tracking. Okay, how often are they requesting to contact me? Do I have multiple points throughout my website that a customer or visitor could call or contact me or submit a form or ask a question? If you're looking at your website right now and you say, okay, there's only one place that a customer could contact me, think about that as your house with only one point of entry. No windows, no back door. You have a house that nobody's going to really want to interact with because once you go in, you're in, okay? So you want to have as many call to actions as possible. So if you have a contact us page with a mobile click to call on your mobile site, you need to track it. It needs to be set up as a goal. If you have a contact us form, track it. It's a goal. If you have a newsletter sign up, an ability to download a PDF or white paper or case study, track it. These are areas that your visitors can interact with you, and then it can show you, especially if you're investing in SEO, oh, wow, okay, people are downloading this case study. I need to invest and create a priority list for case studies. Or, oh, wow, like I didn't realize so many people are spending time on my FAQ page. What if I had a submit a question button on that page? You can set a new goal to track that. You customers that we have enabled us, we're so inconvenient, we're so inconvenienced by giving up information, and we're impatient. So the more that you can give a consumer to engage quickly and find answers, they're going to trust you because they're going to feel like you're not hiding anything from you. If you are advanced and you're using a chat feature, you need to be tracking that too. And there's ways to do that as well. Another thing that you want to look at is what are the top 5 traffic mediums? You know, there was a company, they were trying to figure out where to budget their marketing efforts, and they spent a ton of money on these 3 different websites for different leaderboards, okay? So they had these almost like banner advertisements on these 3 different sites. And they realized just through analytics that one of these sites, one of the leaderboards they had was producing or outproducing the other 2 by like over 40%. So what did they do? The whole year didn't change up the 2 that weren't working, okay? Even though they had the flexibility to do so. If you are advertising on a lot of different sources, this can give you clues in, okay, are the graphics working? Are the links working that is sending referral traffic? Is it taking a long time for a visitor to get from this third-party site to my website? How can I call up that marketing partner or that partner and make this easier? So you have clues within Google Analytics to help your business be more profitable on the money you're already spending. I know that there may be questions. I see the chat. So again, I'm trying to give you as much content here, but we will be going through this. And again, you'll have this presentation if I'm moving too fast. Okay, so content is queen. I like to use that, but you can sub that with king. We're all equal here. But what I always like to say is content is queen if people are looking at your content. It doesn't do you any good to invest all this time and energy in content that no one's reading. So this is why Google Analytics is important. And then secondly, content that fulfills the Google EAT principle will rank higher. So a lot of people want to know, okay, how do I rank my site number 1? How do I get to number 1? Okay. This is a marathon. It's no longer a sprint. If you haven't focused on SEO, it's probably not realistic to think that you're going to be on the top of this or on the #1 page, even within the next year. Google 5 years ago used to rank sites that had keywords, relevant keywords stuffed in the back end of the website. I was one of those people that had benefited from that. You can't do that anymore. Google has machine learning and they have big algorithm updates every year so that they, as a search engine, can keep up with how consumers are interacting. So think about this mobile device, right? How many times have you upgraded your mobile device in the last 5 years? I remember 5 years ago, I think that I had the iPhone 4. Okay, now I'm at the 10. So all of those changes made search engines like Google update their algorithm to ensure that their actual browser fit in the certain dimensions, that it had, the proper load speed. At one point, some of you may have had 2 different websites, one for desktop, one for mobile. These changes actually affect SEO. And so one of the big changes in content has been this EAT principle. And so Google has reiterated here in 2021 that content quality is super important for your ranking success. And these factors, EAT, which is expertise, your authority, and your trustworthiness, will go into your ranking. So how do you get that? If you are a dental practice and you want to show up #1 for dental implants and you have no content, really no information on your site other than a service page on dental implants, Google is saying you essentially need 5 articles on dental implants that talk about authority, ensure that you are trustworthy on having a dental implants practice, and pillars on why someone should come to your office for dental implants, and all this education resource just to get ranked. So it sounds like a lot, and it is. So you don't want to invest the time and energy in creating this content if it's not going to benefit you. I'm tying back in Google Search Console. Google Search Console allows you to submit your sitemap and individual pages once you start populating, creating content on your website, so that Google, it's almost like the fast pass at Disney World, because Google then, when you submit your sitemap for all this new content you have created, Google will crawl it, recognize all the changes in content, and it'll help you move up the needle in your EAT, your authority and trustworthiness, quicker. If you're not doing that, Google's busy, okay? They have manual people that are checking websites, but still, if you just search right now for a product or service that you offer, there's probably millions of websites that you're competing with. That's a lot of sites to get to. We have seen companies invest 6 months on creating content every week for their website, and we go into Google Search Console and realize Google hasn't looked at their site for over a year. So it hasn't even seen any of the content and hard work and efforts that the business owner has been generating and investing in. So every time you complete a piece of content, usually we like to submit the sitemap at least every other week to Google, especially if you're creating high volumes of content. So again, it's like the fast pass. You may skip over millions of sites so that Google crawls yours first. And again, it helps you in the race for rankings. So the EAT principle, it's big. It's going to help you develop your expertise, authority, and trust much quicker if you are dialed into Search Console and producing content that people are actually visiting and looking at. Okay, I talked about FAQ pages a little earlier. They're going to be getting even more of something that you as a business owner need to think about, not just because your consumers are asking these questions and wanting to know, but because of voice and Google, the search engine, has made featured snippets more prominent in search results. So if you are by your phone right now and you're like, okay, I'm tuning out a little bit, do a search really quick of a question that you want to know. You will see these boxes, and it's literally populates usually the top 5 questions that are asked around the topic that you just searched for. And so if you know that there's a lot of questions around what you do, whether it's objections you get for customers or just your current clients and the sales process, you want to answer all of those on your website. Now, the old school philosophy was, no. The law of attraction was, they're going to set a form on my website, and then I'm going to be able to have control over how I answer these questions, right? The qualifying and sales process. Unfortunately, it's on this Internet of Things, you can't do that anymore. It is just drop it. It is not the right mindset. You need to be as transparent as possible, not just because customers are going to be engaging more with your website, but because Google is going to showcase your website more, especially if it knows where you're located, for those searches that are relevant around the questions being asked for your product or your service. One of the tools that I love, write this down, it's called Answer the Public, okay? Answer the Public is free for up to 5 searches a day. They may have changed it to 3 in 2021, but if they haven't, it still should be 5. And it gives you what, where, why, can, around any question that you put in there. Or if I put right now, Ford F-150, or let's use the dental implants, it'll give me live data on all of the most frequently asked questions around dental implants or the Ford F-150 right now. Utilize that list. You can download it right from Answer the Public to build out your frequently asked questions. This is something that if you're not focused on, it needs to be a part of your SEO strategy in Q1, because those featured snippets, as voice search comes into play, they're only going to get longer. And what that means is once they take up more real estate on the first page of Google, if you were, number 6, number 5, you're going to get bumped to page 2. And that's a big, big difference when it comes to traffic. Google Discover. Okay, so this, if you haven't looked at Google Discover, it's usually something that is forever evolving. It still is. It was first featured in 2017, but it is called Predictive Search. And so Google, they inserted artificial intelligence a few years ago with their algorithm update called Rank Brain. If you are new to SEO, just Google's Rank Brain update, and you will be fascinated, because what they did is they inserted artificial intelligence that is learning, and it is deep learning, which means it can actually provide predictive search results for a consumer based on what they're doing on all the other platforms that they have. So for instance, Facebook, Google Chrome, all the searches that I made, if I don't clear my cookies every day, it is learning, and it is going to predictively show up right when I go to Google what I want to see as a consumer. So like right there in that picture, if I go to the Weather Channel a lot, it might show the weather. If I like sports and I'm constantly checking U of L basketball, it may show like ESPN. So if I am in the market for your product or service, Google is going to have the ability to populate predictively based on that consumer a website. And so this is a place where you want to be in, especially with YouTube, because video is going to be more and more what people are trying to get on the first page of search results. Why? Think about your own nature. We would rather sit there and watch a 30-second video, even if we don't have the sound on and we're reading captions, versus reading an article that takes 2 minutes to read. We would just sit there and watch the video. So this is only going to continue to compound and snowball why Google is going to start showing video and predictive search in results, because ultimately Google wants to populate not only what's most relevant, but what consumers are engaging with, which is video. So Google Discover, as this continues to evolve in 2021, you are going to want to really start focused on your SEO and that Google Search Console, understand what's populating first, and then creating more content around it. Okay, thinking smarter, not harder. I just talked about AI and artificial intelligence. And trust me, I went to U of L and majored in business. I did not study AI. To me, it's really scary to think about. I was overwhelmed when I started to dive in. But really, we're all learning together. It's new. And digital marketing and AI are at a crossroads because it can really help you not just automate things on the internet, but actually automate your business, like chat bots on your website, like being able to respond to a customer on the frequently asked questions just in automation in real time. If you're not focused as a small business owner on AI, this is the time to really start understanding how you can just take baby steps, one step at a time, making those crossroads really work with your digital marketing, SEO, and AI. And so some of the things that, again, not to overwhelm you too much, that we have done that have been really effective is email template automation. So if somebody does submit a form on your website, how can you automate some of those frequently asked questions to then trigger an email response that you know is what you would have sent? And then if they respond back, it goes directly to your email box. There are tools out there like Zoho, which is the generic version of HubSpot, that can do this for you. Calls to action on site. This is another one. So, if you're not utilizing chat is a great one that you can insert some little AI or bots onto your website that can literally help you sign a client or have somebody set an appointment for you all through chat. If you're the one that's setting appointments or you have payroll invested in setting appointments, this would be an arena where you could have somebody who's almost operating like an assistant or admin or receptionist really start answering these questions on chat, but then get them sent to your phone or their phone, his or her phone, and really start just the AI journey there. Because if you're not going to start in 2021, I can assure you this same presentation next year, a lot of it's going to be centered around AI and how it's working in not just your digital marketing, but on your website. And that is still under this umbrella of SEO. Remarketing campaigns. Remarketing campaigns are going to be automated here too with digital marketing. So again, I talked about or touched on, if you are doing all these searches, say you're in Chrome and every day, you use Google, let's say you do 10 searches a day and you have never cleared your browsing data. Google is just learning. So every day it continues to learn from the apps that you use on this phone as well as your search activity. You can, through your digital marketing campaigns, cater your remarketing efforts, which is essentially display ads that follow you around the internet based on what my search history has been, okay? So is this getting freaky or what? So if you're not even doing remarketing, you've probably, even if you haven't invested in it, you've experienced it where you went to, I went to PNC Bank, and then I went to Virtual Wallet, and all of a sudden I started getting, these PNC display images following me around on Facebook, on Google, on articles I was reading that weren't even on the internet, or not on the internet, but were on like the Wall Street Journal or the Atlantic, all about their PNC Virtual Wallet because they wanted me to sign up for it. That is retargeting or remarketing. It's the same thing. So now you're going to be able to customize those display images based on the actual person and what in my search history, which display images I've clicked on in the past that have converted. So I know that was a long-winded answer or long-winded explanation of how AI can be intersected into remarketing campaigns, but the same is going to hold true for your graphics, whether it is the Facebook advertising you're doing or those the leader display banners that I mentioned earlier, there's actually tools where you can then upload your customer list, and there's AI or data from Google around your customers and what they click, and it can help you alter graphics that will help your marketing campaign be more successful. So if you haven't even started remarketing, just so you know, it literally costs cents for to upload this on Google, a display graphic, and anybody who has visited your website, they can at least be retargeted with your logo or something, one display graphic. Now's the time to get started, because again, if you haven't even started retargeting or remarketing your customers, your competitors, if they're a little bit more advanced, have the opportunity to truly start intersecting AI and marketing. Okay, I talked about this before, but you got to get video rolling, not just for those predictive search results, but because it's an effective strategy with SEO. Google wants more video content, so they're going to reward you more for providing video content, not just on your YouTube channel, but on your website. So a lot of times we've worked with companies in so many different facets. We worked with a CPA firm that instead of just doing headshots for their bios, we did videos, okay? You want to get to know the people that you're going to be working with prior to engaging in business. So there's a lot of creative ways and innovative ways that you can use video on your site. The frequently asked questions that we talked about before, literally film yourself answering those frequently asked questions, so that if I am thinking about choosing you over a competitor, I've already gotten to know you. I like you. I already know I'm doing business with you prior to me kind of working the deal with you. So it's higher quality leads that you're going to be receiving if you've already kind of allowed the customer to engage and get to know you via video, versus you don't have any video content. You're spending a lot of man hours in just getting to know the customer and then getting to know you. Take that out of the equation in 2021. It's going to cost you, and it's going to cost you to do that. Even if you're doing it yourself, it costs you a lot of time, right? You're probably not going to be a one and done take. We work with business owners who are very charismatic, and some days it takes them, a couple times to do a video, and then other times we're there for 2 hours. So find a partner that you trust, that you feel comfortable, going down this vulnerable process, because it takes some vulnerability, and just understand that we're all in it together, because I feel like I'm scared oftentimes to do video, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it, and I still get nervous even for presentations like this. So just be aware that we're all there together and make the investment, because if you get behind the 8 ball in this, it's going to be really difficult to catch up. So the best preparation for good work tomorrow is to do good work today. And we really, in the Guardian Owl Nest, I talk about, I can give these presentations all day long. I can tell my team to do things, but execution is what really matters. So if you've walked away with one thing today, please just take that one thing, and for the next 7 days, try to execute on it, because SEO is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so if you're not consistent with implementing whatever you take from this presentation, you're never going to see the dividends. It is the marathon philosophy. So thank you so much. I really appreciate, again, for your time. I'm excited to go into Q&A. My email is below at jenna@guardianowldigital.com. And David, I'm going to turn it to you, just because I know you may want to talk a little bit prior to going into any questions that we have.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a lot. I mean, I thought I was fairly up to date, but some of this stuff I hadn't heard of, and this is quite eye-opening. Especially the Google Search Console, I hadn't really dug into that. So going back to the beginning, let's just say, you have a website. Where exactly would you start? Would you, work through your analytics first, and then move a step up into Search Console and work through that process, or what's the first step?
That's a great question. I'm so glad that you asked that. So both products are free. It takes 5 minutes to integrate Google Analytics and Google Search Console. So what I would do is I would create, if you have a Gmail account, I would enroll in both. Okay. And then I would integrate both of them so that it's sharing the data. Google Search Console is free to use. There's no rhyme or reason why you shouldn't have both. And again, this is not even for somebody who is just starting. It is a simple process to set up. It's not hours and hours upon hours of setting this up. It is literally, you set up your Google Analytics with a Gmail account. It'll give you a script. You insert that on the back end of your website. And then you go to Google Search Console. It's a free tool. You put in your website, and it'll allow you, it should prompt you to integrate with analytics, and that voila, you are sharing the data and you have both platforms set up.
It sounds so easy until I try it. But I'll let you know how that goes.
I promise you, the hardest part is just getting that code on the back end, and make sure you're an admin to your Google Analytics, or else when you go to Google Search Console, which is good, it's good security to have this, right? It won't allow you to verify your site, which won't allow you to integrate. But that's the only caveat that I guess tends to happen with that.
Well, as a small business owner, I mean, you're pressed for time. How much time would you recommend somebody that's going to try to do this on their own spend managing their site and kind of thinking about the analytics going forward?
That's a great question. So from an SEO standpoint, if you're not investing, 6 to 10 hours a month, then you need to hire it out if you want to move the needle. And I mean, that question, I almost laugh because it's like, it's New Year's resolutions, right? How much time do I need to spend to work out to get the dream body that I want? Well, that's going to be different depending on where I'm starting at, right? Am I 50 pounds overweight or am I 5? Okay. That's going to determine, Dave, how much time it needs invested into SEO. So if you don't know where you're at, if you're like, am I 50 pounds overweight or am I 5? Then I would get an audit. We do them for free. A lot of agencies do. They'll be able to say, hey, look, like you need to really invest in content. To write a 500-word blog, it might take an hour. You should probably do a couple a month. So now you're looking at 5 hours. That's not even including looking at your analytics and reporting. So if you're doing it yourself, I think that the reality is, it just depends on where you're starting. Going back to that home analogy, that's a great way to look at your website, right? So how many things do I need to take care of, Dave? And how long are those things going to take? And every house kind of looks a little different when it comes to what needs done to make it equitable.
Yeah, I do want to compliment you on your house analogy. I thought that was quite clever, and it really kind of put the whole thing in perspective. So I'm sure everybody else would agree with me. That was pretty cool. Thank you.
Hey, we're all learning this together. I always remind people it's like a different language, the internet world. And so I try to use analogies that we all understand, and that one seems to fit. So I have more. If you're like, hey, I'm really confused at what this is, I'll try and help you there. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Tony, you there?
Yes.
Hey, Tony. Do we have any questions today?
Sorry, I came on like that. I was kind of rushing to get to you all, so I apologize. So yes, we do have one question about the Google Analytics. I heard you all kind of talk about how to get it set up, but one person in particular, they said they have a website on Shopify. Is there any difference anything they need to know differently?
No, actually Shopify is even, I think, easier to set up. So once you log into Shopify, you should be able to just go into settings and integrate analytics to Shopify. Now, there's a lot of different kind of connections or integrations with Shopify that you can then insert to make it easy to actually utilize just Shopify alone to look at data. But no, same process.
Okay, excellent. And I want to send out my accolades to you. You did great. Your presentation was awesome. So I learned quite a bit. I didn't know about Answer the Public. So when you were saying different things, I went online and was like, oh, okay. So thank you for that. We do have another question here from Shelton. They want to know if you would provide an explanation of the difference between clicks and impressions for the group.
Absolutely. So on Google Search Console, an impression would be if I'm going to Google right now and I do dentist office near me and my site populates, if I'm a dentist, it populated in that search result, that would be an impression. A click would be if the visitor actually clicked through on that query. So what's great about Google Search Console is it's going to allow you to see, okay, I have a ton of impressions for this search query, dentist office, but no one's clicking through. That's a big indicator that your metadata, that page title and description in the results needs to change because it's not attracting that click. That's a great question.
Okay. So the next question is, what are your thoughts on paid Google ads?
My thoughts on paid Google ads is you need to start them. So I'll tell you a story. In 2013, when I started, I was selling Google ads. I got thrown out of a dealership because I was told that I was a spam rep and that Google was going away and that they were the yellow pages. And so I promise you, you need to start now because Google ads aren't going away. And the more you can build that relationship with Google, unfortunately, they're the big elephant in the room. It's going to pay dividends later. Even if you're spending $50 a month, cut out coffees, you all, and invest your dollars. Stop going to Starbucks, okay? Invest your dollars in Google Ads and just start bidding on your name or bid on what you find to be the number one search query in Search Console. You have to start somewhere. So just getting started is the first place. And then you can add budget once you understand what's going on in AdWords.
Okay.
Great question.
Okay, so this next question is actually about getting started. This question is, if you're starting a brand new business, does Google have a starter kit? Or the question is, how's the best way to get started on the SEO?
So as we kind of talked about, I think just like I would give the person who has never worked out before, how do I get started? Do one push-up, okay? So tomorrow, if you don't have a website, I would say, okay, I'm going to create a Facebook page because I'm assuming maybe you don't even have social media. Well, there's no barrier of entry there. You can start a Facebook page tomorrow, today. You can start, all you need is an email address. So create those first, a Facebook page, an Instagram, a LinkedIn. Start posting every day, okay? Those are your websites, right? Then once you get a customer and you have some funds, then maybe you can create a Shopify or a WordPress or Squarespace page, okay? And I'm conservative when it comes to spending money. I don't spend it unless I have it. And so to me, even if you have a credit line or you have funds, I still love that mentality because it's worked for me all these years. And so if you can just take one step at a time, the mistakes are going to be less costly for you. And trust me, you're going to make a lot of mistakes when you start the website. So start the Facebook, start the LinkedIn, start these social media profiles that are for free. Once you understand and feel confident in yourself that you are committing to being consistent in these platforms, now's the time to, okay, I'm ready for a Squarespace site because I know I'm going to add content to it. I know I'm going to update it. You're a little bit more savvy. So maybe that takes you 3 weeks. Maybe at the end of, a month, you're like, okay, I'm struggling with this, the free stuff. That will help you to determine what that timeline is. But it's just like working out. It just depends on where you are and individually how you operate. And so that's the advice that I would give if you're just starting from scratch.
So I just want to say I love your analogies. You're really good. So,
They are really good.
so that was excellent advice. Excellent advice.
I'm trying to be honest. I've been through it. I've made the mistakes. I've spent money that, it's always a learning lesson. So if I can, to me, the more you're going to make mistakes, so the less costly they are to you, like the more you'll make, which in my opinion is better when you first start out because you learn. And as anybody knows, if they're on like year 5 or year 6 of being an entrepreneur, like, yeah, you're going to make them. And I think just when you first start out, you're afraid to make those first couple. And so it makes, to me, the pain a little less is if it doesn't cost you a lot monetarily wise.
Excellent advice. So Jim has a question. It's kind of long, so I just want to make sure I'm giving you that notification. Okay. The portability of the information you provided across all businesses is of super value. So thank you for that insight. So much of this, however, is with the ignorance of how customers interact or even find us. With a brick and mortar business, like a donut shop, are there case studies that help focus where internet activities should be focused?
I love the donut shop because yes, there is. If you are a donut shop or a restaurant, I really think that your website is just your menu. It is just your menu. So I wouldn't, if I was a restaurant owner, unless you're a big group, spend a ton of money and making your website and content and SEO. I would spend all your energy in social media and creating videos. And then what I would do is, loving that donut shop example, I mean, think about it. You could put Google Analytics on your website if you have it, or take your Facebook audience or a list. This is getting a little detailed. Upload it to Google Analytics. You could target all of those customers who have either already purchased a donut from you or are in your face or following you on social media with the donut of the week, with your donut and your logo, and stay in front of them with display images that are going to continue to follow me around until I come into your donut shop and buy a donut. Because literally, I don't even know. I haven't been retargeted by a donut, but I would either be trying to figure out how to clear my cookies immediately, okay? Or I'd be like, who is this donut shop? And this looks delicious. I'm going to visit. So I think that if you are a restaurant owner, that's something that I've seen as a big missing piece, because from my experience, you operate on thinner margins and every dollar really, really matters. And I am saying that because of just my experience. And so you can be really cost effective with just creating graphics of your best and most popular dishes. And that's what sells. That's your product, is getting that image in front of people that are hungry.
So do you know if there's any case studies that can help somebody to know where to focus their internet activities at? Do you know if there's any white papers or case studies?
Specifically for donut shops?
Just in general, just any type of company that's if there's any case studies that you're aware of. Books.
We have case studies on our website. If you go to guardianowdigital.com, if you go to Think with Google is a good one because they come out with an email that delivers case studies. I think the challenge is they operate a lot of times on an enterprise level. So they're giving you case studies that are huge companies that have a lot of dollars. I will tell you, though, that you can read all the case studies in the world, and most of them are going to be good. I've never seen a case study that's like, this was horrible, don't do this, right? So I just would be aware and not be ignorant to the fact that case studies are a selling tool and that you've got to try it and experiment it yourself and see what works with your audience in your business.
Mm-hmm. So I just want you to know that people in the chat are giving you ultimate accolades and praise. They're saying this is a fantastic workshop. So
sweet.
I have one last question here. So thank you. You've been a trooper for answering all these questions.
I love it.
Marilyn is moving her website over to Wix soon, and she wants to know if she will have any trouble loading these tools that you talked about on there.
No, but I will tell you, I'm going back to that analogy, and you may understand this. And again, I rented before. I was a renter on the internet, right? There's nothing wrong with renting, okay? But Wix is a platform where you're not going to build equity online, you're renting, okay? So the landlord for Wix is Wix. They're the ones that every time you as an owner go over to Wix benefits, okay? You're paying them. So I would try and get off Wix and move to a platform when you can, when it makes sense in your business, like Squarespace or WordPress. And I don't get paid by any of these companies. I'm telling you based on my experience. We work with nonprofits that a lot of times are on Wix. And even just moving them to Wix for Squarespace, we see a big difference in their ability to grow from an SEO standpoint. So I'm telling you that because whoever that business owner is, you're not going to want to spend a whole ton of time on all this content unless you're paying a lot of money to push people to that Wix site. And again, you're paying people to come to a house that is you're renting, so the landlord is benefiting, not you.
Wow. I did not know that. That's really good advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a quick question, Jenna, going back to setting your website up for success with voice search and the FAQ page. I mean, exactly could you talk a little bit more about how robust you need to have it, your FAQ page, and is it appropriate for all websites or all business models, or I guess if everybody's searching back to the donut shop, I hate to keep picking on Jim, but I mean, would you want to have a FAQ page for your donut shop just so that people would, when I search voice searched where the donut shops are?
I haven't ran into a business that doesn't need an FAQ shop. So one, like taking the donut shop, do you deliver donuts? Is there discounts? Do you cater? Do you do birthday parties? There's so many. Do you pay by? Can I pay through your site? Is there? I'm just trying to think of. Do you use DoorDash? Like, there's so many opportunities that you're just not thinking of that people want to know. And so I think that if you can just get creative and understand that people, especially now with delivery, want to know, okay, like you can put this on your website, like period. So yes, FAQ is great for that. What's great for voice is being able to write blog content or video content and literally using, okay, Google, what's my favorite donut? And being able to maybe then talk about, we get asked this question a lot, or that's funny you asked. This month, here are our top 5 featured donuts. So you have to get creative, and this is, again, this is why SEO is important, because it's a team. And as the owner, you've got to, I think I'm challenge you to find innovative ways that you can intersect voice in your business. And so maybe you film the video of you talking about the specials and then just have upload that YouTube video to a blog page and then have the language in there. But yes, the frequently asked question, it's huge. You can find clever ways to intersect voice. It's funny, you can get creative with it, and you'll be surprised at how your efforts pay off.
Thank you. It looks like we have one more question that came in, Tony, right?
We sure do. They want to know if Shopify is a better platform for selling.
Compared to anything, or just period?
It just says, is Shopify a better platform for selling?
I always recommend Shopify and WordPress. Yes. I think Shopify beat WooCommerce, which is on WordPress. It's like their e-commerce side of it. And I work with both. And truly, I don't think that there's it's almost like Coke and Pepsi. It kind of just depends on what you like and what your frame of reference is. So if you're more comfortable with Shopify, you're going to like Shopify more. If you're more comfortable with WordPress and WooCommerce, you're going to gravitate towards that. Both are equally, completely capable and get the job done. And there's no big difference in ranking. So that's a great question.
So they did just come in and say compared to Squarespace.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I would Shopify all day over Squarespace. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, and it's only just because of, I think Shopify, even though Squarespace has made a lot of changes and they're great marketers. Squarespace is great at marketing because they focus on visualization. Don't let it fool you. They're just not as far along in the e-commerce realm as Shopify.
Got it.
Good insight. Well, it looks like we're kind of over our time here. Jenna, this has been awesome. I've learned so much. I know everybody will agree with me that you really opened our eyes, and hopefully we all have a lot of work to do to get really creative and get started here in 2021. So thank you so much for coming today, and I hope you'll do this again for us very soon. I know we'll get a lot of requests for you to come back.
I would love that. Nothing more. Anything that I can do to support you all, and I'm on the journey with you. And if you want to, again, my information, direct email is jenna@guardianowldigital.com. You can find me on LinkedIn using my name. I think Instagram, it's Jenna_Ahern. Anything that we can help provide. Really appreciate you having me today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Tony, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And Jen, I just wanted you to know that Denise wants to let you know you rock. Thank you.
You rock for being on here, Denise. 2021.
There we go. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll send you a copy of this presentation and the files again later on this afternoon, and we'll see you next week. We'll have we have some great guests that go over some strategic planning with us, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thanks, Jenna. See ya.
Bye. Thank you.